What's up, everybody? Dan here from the Headwaters Kayak Shop, and I'm road tripping through Oregon today, and I have this brand new boat behind me. Lifetime was awesome enough to send me out the Tamarack Pro. I actually got an email a few weeks back to say they had watched my videos and were appreciative of my reviews, and basically like, hey, would you mind doing another one? So I'm like, yeah, sure. If you're willing to send me a boat out, I'll paddle it, and I'm gonna give people honest feedback as long as you guys don't mind me being honest, because let's face it, you know, it's a $350 boat. It's gonna have its flaws. But they said they were cool with it. They sent it out, and so I've got it. And the deal with this one, you guys, is they took the Tamarack, and there was things that you guys as consumers wanted to see changed. And I got to give kudos to them as they listened to you guys, and they tried to implement these things into the new boat. So all in all, it actually came to me in pretty good shape here. I was disappointed that it was just kind of one layer of cellophane, because if I flip this over, you'll see it got a little bit of road rash along the way, you know? So you buy a new boat, you expect it to be perfect. They could do a little bit more for the packaging, I think, but you're definitely better off to pick it up at a local store. You know, these are going to be sold through box stores, Walmart, places like that. You're better off to pick it up locally if you can, so they ship in a batch maybe instead of one at a time. But if you have one of these freighted to your door, you can expect you're not getting a perfect boat. So just setting some expectations here. So definitely pop those out if yours are still stuck in there. They're supposed to be out, but you know, little Klingons. Fillet this fish real quick. You got to be careful when you cut it open, you don't cut your bungees. Stay down. What do? I touch the bungee and cut it. I just sharpened my knife and it's razor sharp. I just touched it. Dang it. Here's how it comes. Looks like you've got a rod holder that's zip tied in there. That's pretty cool. It's a track mounted deal. You know, it's pretty simple. It's definitely a lot chintzier than say a Scotty, but whatever. I mean, this is a $350 boat. So anything we talk about, we have to talk about it through a filter of, will it work for that price? Like, that's cheap. Is it worth buying? Is it worth using? And I mean, hard to say. It seems stout enough. It's track mounted. You know, maybe see if it fits on the track, see how solid it is. We'll bring that with us for the review. I mean, it's a little wobbly, but I would say it's suitable for maybe trolling for trout, you know, smaller fish. So it's not gonna take a ton of torque, but small fish, fishing for trout would probably be just fine. This is a paddle it came with. You know, they've been doing this paddle. They're nice enough to give you guys a paddle and say, hey, your kayak comes with the paddle. But let me tell you, even if you're buying this boat, even if it's a $350 boat, do yourself a favor and buy yourself a decent paddle. That's my review of these. Is we're not going to use them. Even if you're buying a $350 boat, spend $100. Spend $150 on a paddle and you'll never, ever regret it. If you go out the first time with that stock paddle and you're like, man, I like this, get a good paddle and you'll like it 10 times more, because it really makes that much of a difference, you guys. So this is how the seat comes. Pretty simple, you just flip it over. There's a couple of straps that I got to do here on the bottom to get the tension there. And set up these 3 straps under the seat, tighten them to give yourself the support you want underneath. And then this guy flips back. And then you have another strap. You got this strap down here that goes through these buckles that'll hold the stern in. And then up front, you have this little piece and then this plastic clip. I'll be honest with you, that plastic clip feels pretty cheap. Like, you definitely got to watch it on that, because that'll be something that probably breaks. But here's the deal, you guys, even if something breaks, Lifetime's website's really good. They have all their pieces and parts available on their website, so it's pretty chill. They also have these little bungees in the back that I think clip off to here. I didn't read any instructions, but that's logical. It holds the seat back. All right, that's it. We're all set up, you guys. Let's get this thing down to the water. I'm a little bummed I forgot my cart, because even this one, it's relatively light at 57 pounds. By the time you get some stuff loaded up on it, and I've got a pretty good schlep today, cart makes it way easier. Just watch out for those cheap, like $59 Amazon carts. If they're too good to be true, guys, I hate to say it, but they are. We're gonna do it the old fashioned way, brute strength. All right, here we go. There we go. Not ideal, but it'll get us there. Okay, that actually did not work out good at all. But what I'm noticing is, see all these little lines in the dirt? I bet I'm not the first one to drag their new kayak across the dirt. I'm just gonna drag this one. Sorry, Lifetime. But it'll be a good wear test, right? You still don't want to drag it on asphalt and things like that, but it's dirt. It should be totally fine. So we made it to the water, and I thought it would be a good time to go over what makes the Tamarack Pro different than the regular Tamarack. As you guys have seen in my previous videos, I've done a under $500 review of the Tamarack. Ethan and I hooked up and took it on a Cowlitz River float in southern Washington last month. We've had a great time with the original. It's one of the best boats. It's one of my easiest boats to recommend under 500 bucks for a well-balanced sit on top. Well, Lifetime's been listening to their customers, and their customers had certain things they wanted on kind of the next generation. You know, how do you improve on a cult classic? This is their answer. Up in the bow, you'll notice it looks really similar. It's got sort of that little concave spot where you can stick a dry bag or something under there. As you move into the cockpit, you'll notice a big improvement. They went away from their molded foot pedals. Now you have an actual adjusted foot pedal that's adjustable from the cockpit just by pulling it forward or backwards. And then it kind of tells you how many inches, or just a kind of a point of reference on how long you need to be if you're swapping between users. They also added accessory tracks right here on the deck, and they included this rod holder. If you're not fishing one day, this whole thing can just slide right off. There you go. Moving back, you got the center hatch, but a lot of times if you throw something in the center hatch, it goes all through the boat. So what they did here is they put a bucket that just pops right in there, so you can throw items you want easy at hand. Now, this isn't going to be waterproof. If you wanted to put something waterproof in there, it still needs to go in a dry bag. But at least you have a cool access point right between your legs. Little rubberized hatch. It kind of seals when you press it down. I don't know how watertight. I can't speak to that. As far as handles and bungees, it kind of went standard. One thing I don't love that they do is they do this bungee that just goes straight into the hole, which means if you get water here, it drains right into the hull of the boat. So one thing I got to say about Lifetime is they're not a very dry ride. If you're getting water over the deck or you're going in any sort of big waves and chop, this isn't the boat. This is a close to shore, kind of easy, flat water like we're here today. One of the biggest upgrades was the seat. They went to a frame chair seat, which I think is a huge improvement. Everyone I talked about the old Tamarack, the first thing I would say is go to Costco, get the $20 stadium seat. It fits right in there. Well, they did you one better. They went ahead and put this nice frame chair, and the materials feel pretty soft, pretty decent. I mean, it doesn't seem overly cheap compared to other kayaks I've seen on the market. If it was, I would be honest with you guys, like about these things, that feels cheap. The materials of the seat actually feel pretty good. I'm sure if that's not the case long term, you guys will leave it in the comments. So helping everyone out, helping everyone know, like long-term review. There's no better reviewers than the people that are actually out using these things. So this is me saying, here's the initial thing. But let's be honest, there's thousands of people that'll own these things and live with them for years and really put them to the test. So I always encourage those people that have that experience, join our comment section. Tell us your experience. Okay, behind the seat, you'll see two flush mount rod holders, a roomy tank well, which is actually perfect. I brought my little day pack that I'll just stick there underneath the bungees. One day I'll go over what I keep in my day pack just for fun, but just basic stuff, change of clothes, extra batteries, headlamp, you know, odds and ends. I'll do a separate video on that someday. For now, we're running a daylight. We gotta go hit this water. Just gonna step down into it because that's about as awkward as you can get. Flop my butt down in the seat here. All right, one thing I can say I already absolutely love is how dry it is. That's my first thoughts as I sit down in it's a relatively small kayak. It's not tiny, but for a guy, I'm 6'2", 220 pounds or so. I'm not wet. You know, a lot of times water splashes up on the deck when I'm in like a smaller recreational sit on top. Not this one. My butt feels up off the ground, but I still feel really stable. Well, it feels like a Tamarack. It's probably the same hull design, just with an updated deck. I should look into that and know that, but just going off feel and looks, I think it's just about the same. So by no means do I want to turn this into a forward stroke video, but I always want to lead in with a little bit of talk about foundational skills because there's not a lot of good information out there. So if you're watching this, I'm going to assume either you're just a Headwaters fan and you watch all the videos, or I'm going to assume that you're looking at buying an entry-level kayak. So here's a couple things I want you guys to think about when you're doing your forward stroke. It's not an arm thing. It's not like I'm chilling back in this lawn chair, paddling with my arm. This is what I see out here all the time. Looking around, there's nothing wrong with this. It's beautiful. But if you want to get that thing to move, or you really want to cover some ground and see some things, you got to get adjusted right. It's like anything. It's like playing baseball, but instead of being in an aggressive, like ready to catch position, you're sort of sitting here like this. No, you want to be up. You want to be engaged. It is a sport, folks. The next thing is rotation. It's not just pulling with my arms, it's pushing with my top hand. And what that does is it engages my whole core. It's my whole core rotating, even all the way down to my feet. If I paddle on the right side, I'm driving through the right foot pedal. Left side, left foot pedal. Now, if I want to turn, say I want to go around the corner, I can sweep out a little bit. See that right leg straighten out? And it's like a nice big sweep stroke. This arching stroke that just pushes the kayak away from the paddle. The paddle really isn't even moving that much. It's the boat that's moving. Let's get back to the boat though. It did what you wanted it to do. It goes fairly straight, it turns fairly easy. It's got a good initial stability, a good secondary stability. And for most of the general public, it's under 220, 240 pounds, easy breezy. As you start getting up to 260, whatever, you know, your weight to volume ratio gets a little high and gets a little more tippy. But I mean, I know I'll have people in the comments say, well, I'm 275 and I paddle that thing. Okay, the rating is at 300, and yes, you can fit 300 pounds before this thing starts taking on water or the water starts coming into the floor, but it's not gonna be easy to paddle. If you're 300 plus pounds, you definitely should be looking for something a little bit longer, a little bit wider, a little bit more volume. Typically, unfortunately, how the market works is that's gonna mean a little bit more expensive too, in most cases. I'm able to move around the boat. I mean, I can even stand up in this thing. They made the deck just flat enough that I can even stand up. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you and say everyone can do this. It's not super duper stable, but if you're somewhat physically active and you're agile, if you're a smaller person or kids, for sure, you'll be able to pop right up and paddle this thing. Or stand and cast or whatever you wanna do. It's pretty darn stable. You guys, don't laugh at my budget camera setup. You're watching a $350 kayak video. All balling on a budget over here. I'm out here paddling one of the most beautiful places in Oregon, enjoying myself, watching the sun go down in a $350 kayak. Like, that's what it's all about, man. Could I be enjoying this more in a $4,000 kayak? Maybe like that much, but like if the enjoyment is that much, having a really expensive kayak maybe makes it like that much better. But like, this is the meat and potatoes. The meat and potatoes of the sport, first and foremost, is getting out here and seeing this stuff. And then eventually maybe you want longer, maybe you want faster, maybe you want better turning or better for fishing, whatever the case might be. But the most important thing is getting your butt out here. So in conclusion, you guys, I'm a huge fan of the little Tamarack. It does everything you say it would do. The pieces and parts, you know, they're cheap, but it's a $350 kayak. And what you're getting for the money is really, really good. I love the stability. I love the back support, the lumbar support on the chair. The rod holder, it may not be burly, but it would definitely work for a recreational trout fisherman. Like if I had a spinning reel right now, I would be completely happy. All in all, I give this thing 2 thumbs up. Knowing the limitations is important. This is a skinny water kayak, close to shore kayak. It is sit on top, so you know, you can venture out a little bit more because it's not gonna swamp with water, but still it's a 10-foot kayak. So slow moving rivers, great. Class 1 creeks, stuff like that, awesome boat. Light fishing, places like I'm on right now, absolutely great tool for the job. You'll love it for the money. The only thing I would suggest is get a better paddle. I said that last time, I'll stick with it. If you spend even 65 bucks on a Benny Branches Whisper, you'll like this boat so much more. I highly recommend looking at like the Aquabound Man Ray Stingray. It's $150, but it's got a carbon shaft, a really nice blade. It's light and it just feels good in your hands. You know, I just had a really interesting talk with the homeowner that lives out here full time. And to hear his perspective of how much this place has changed just by community of people using this water, and people just want to come see it, but don't necessarily want to protect it or love it, or, you know, leaving their trash, or they're, you know, stepping in the springs or defecating on the shore. You know, it's really got to be a mutual respect for the places you go and the places you explore. We have that responsibility as paddlers to take care of these places so our kids and their kids can come out here and have these same kind of experiences. And if we don't take care of places like this, they get shut down, they get privatized, they get permits only. So it was a really good perspective. You know, sometimes even I get a little lackadaisical, but his reminder caused me to remember and just to kind of think about things in a different light. So anyway, you guys, thanks so much for watching. Loved the kayak, loved being out here, and I love hanging out with you guys. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, this is Dan wishing you happy paddling. We'll see you on the next one.